My name is Matt Keys, based in London, and I'm launching RapDev's Datadog practice in Europe.
My name is Jesse Eddy, Principal Account Executive here at RapDev.
What I've really noticed with our customers is a capabilities gap in legacy tooling. And as you implement, your digital transformation moves forward, you move to the cloud, you move to a more proactive DevOps posture. Legacy tools just don't perform well in those type of environments with those kind of initiatives. What I find is a lot of times best-in-class tooling initiatives are associated with best-in-class customer experience. So a lot of times when a customer is looking to ship digital products faster, improve the experience of digital projects, that's when they will invest in best-in-class tooling like Datadog. What are the different ways you've seen customers approach a Datadog migration, and then how do you guide them towards the best approach for their unique situation?
What I would say is there's some similarities across all tool migrations. And similarities both in the approach and kind of like the core pillars that drive a successful migration. So one of those is going to be really coming up with a defined plan. How are we going to transition from discovery and kind of the foundational setup of the new platform, make sure security and access is figured out, making sure we're taking into account scalability type questions from a tagging perspective, from a user adoption perspective. And then you get into the more kind of nitty gritty. How do we automate the collection of that data at scale and make sure there's not a drop in the existing service? Because obviously monitoring tools are kind of critical to operating the companies at scale. So making sure we understand how to keep those monitoring tools running while we get the assets and kind of the critical functionality moved over to Datadog is another important part of that planning cycle. So you can have a clean cutover with users that are now ready to take advantage of Datadog when that drop dead date actually hits. Part of that foundational stage is setting up the standards and governance. And one of the byproducts that we find in migrations that might not be originally like the reason for the migration, but is a great ancillary benefit, is cleaning up of technical debt and starting with a clean slate. So why not take advantage of a new greenfield deployment and set up the standards and the governance and learn from your previous implementation of a separate tool to really improve and kind of go leaps and bounds ahead of where you were before.
A lot of times we liken this to kind of putting up guardrails, modest guardrails, so that you can move faster, not slower. Sometimes customers are concerned about the speed of change and how much change they have to digest and go through. So putting a little bit of guardrails around governance and that kind of thing can actually help you move faster, not slower.
Another important pillar to think about when it comes to migration is how do we reduce that barrier to entry for those end users? We hear it every time a migration comes up with end users. There's generally the groan of another tool migration. And by reducing that barrier to entry, we can reduce that burden on those end teams. So make sure the assets that are critical that they rely on a daily basis are migrated over, and also understand how they were using those and what they were using those for, so we can think about how to iterate and improve upon those current use cases in the new tool, because then that kind of ties back to how do we incentivize that adoption. You don't want to do a like-for-like migration. A one-for-one migration in most cases is not a great idea because you're investing money and time and taking on some risk with a migration.
This is a great segue into the value of RapDev as an implementation partner. Anyone can set up Datadog. They've made the product so brilliant. Anyone can set it up, but not every busy developer wants to take the time to do that. And so when you have RapDev come in and set it up for you, you sit down at your desk and the dashboards are built out. The monitors are working. You can see transactions end to end. That drives a much higher, easier level of adoption, and that drives much higher user satisfaction with the tool. So you get much faster time to value while also making all your constituencies happier.